Hi, I'm the Recruiting Maven and welcome to my channel. Today I just really wanted to give you really a heart-to-heart conversation about the fourth industrial revolution and what that's going to mean to your job, because I don't think a lot of people are talking about it. I certainly, when I've engaged other people and said, hey, what do you think about the upcoming changes to the workforce, and are you scared that a robot's going to take over your job? And people look at me like I've just watched maybe a Star Wars movie, or a great sci-fi movie, or I'm just out of my mind. And the thing is that this is not, well, I want to say it's not a new conversation. It's not a new conversation in everyday kind of conversations, right? A daily conversation that you may pick up your phone with your friend and say, hey, what do you think about the fourth industrial revolution? But the thing is that it's a conversation that really needs to be had more often. And by that I mean, and by the way, I've taken notes because it is such a deep conversation and broad-based that I want to make sure I stayed on point with you, okay? So will a robot take over your job? Yes, it will. It's not an if, it's a when. So you say, well, again, that sounds kind of science fiction. Did you just go see the latest movie? Well, I've been an Isaac Asimov fan for a lot of years, so it's not, the concept is not new to me, and we've seen all the Terminator movies, and so there's that negative aspect to it, and I think that there's also a really positive aspect to it, that putting creative minds together will certainly make a more positive future for all of us, right? So what do just to start off, I wanted to give you, again, it's such a broad conversation or topic of conversation, just to give you a background of who I am and what I've done. Is I've been in recruiting for the last 7 years, not only on the corporate side, but as a contractor. So what that means is if a client came to me and said, hey, we'd like for you to work either remotely from your home, or you can come and work at our client site, that would be great. I've worked with Fortune 100, Fortune 500, and Fortune 1000, as well as startups and a plethora of other type companies, industries such as IT, education, transit, manufacturing. So I've got a wide range of skill sets in terms of recruiting. My biggest focus has been IT. So with that, no, I'm not an expert on AI, but I do see the changes not only in my industry, but as a broad-based change to every single industry. And with every industrial revolution, whether it's the first, second, third, and now the fourth that we're in, certainly it was very different, because you only had one industry in particular that was being changed dramatically. So, for example, in the first industrial revolution, we saw, excuse me, we saw just a change in steam power. And so when Vanderbilt came around, the infamous Vanderbilt, Cornelius Vanderbilt looked at it and said, I can not only become the top dog in this industry, and he did. He monopolized that entire industry. But that was one industry, which then affected whoever was in that transportation arena. So horses and buggies and horse sellers and, people who took care of the horseshoes, those kinds of, leather goods for the seats in the coaches and buggies and things like that. But it was one industry at a time, where the fourth industrial revolution essentially touches on every single industry out there, because it is machine driven. It's artificial intelligence that can learn on its own. It doesn't need someone to program it. It doesn't need somebody to code it. It doesn't need somebody to maintain it. It actually can do that by itself. So the fourth industrial revolution is about connectivity between machines. So with that second industrial revolution, where you saw the assembly lines and the conveyor belts, and now you have, say, your favorite bottle of Pellegrino going down, that conveyor belt, and it'll have an RFID tag that says, the other machine will read it and say, oh, this bottle needs water, and it fills it up to the level that it's been programmed to, because it recognizes and understands the information on that tag, and it will fill it appropriately. And it goes down, and the caps get put on, and then the labeling gets put on, and so forth. So that was the second industrial revolution. But what in the fourth industrial revolution does, it identifies it. They're talking to one another, saying, hey, I've produce this amount of, in other words, you can, at the end of the day, you can actually pull up a report and understand what has happened on, your manufacturing floor, while you're producing bottles of water or, soap dispensers, whatever it is that you may be in. So, I think the other side of that is that we often think as artificial intelligence is something that we are astonished and we don't know anything about, and you actually have been using this for quite a long time. Google is AI. What AI means in certain instances is not just about a robot, it's about the algorithms. When you search on Google, it's an algorithm, right? It's pulling up what's been searched for the most in the last, 24 hours or whatever it is. So whatever that most popular search is for water bottles, then that's what you're going to get at the very top of that search. That's an algorithm, that's AI. So with that said, self-driving cars from Singapore to Boston, we all know that. And we're definitely going to see a lot more of that on the commercial side. So maybe the mass transit buses that carry people, in your city, they will be self-driven. And it's great for cost effectiveness, but at the same time, it's a loss of jobs in that industry as well. Again, it's not just one industry, it's multiple industries being affected. I like to throw in 3D printing. I don't think 3D printing at this point is at the level where it should be, meaning being able to mass produce because of cost. But I think that will definitely, definitely catch up. It has to. It has to. It's such a phenomenal idea for us to be able to build our own, shoes and jewelry and clothing and whatever, depending on the type of textile you're providing that machine with. Then I think that's great. We can all be creative in designing our own things, or lamps, or rugs, whatever it is that you want. So what I wanted to focus is a little bit of numbers. By that is during this year's World Economic World Forum in 2017 in Davos, a lot of the scientists had predicted that AI would evolve in such a way over the next 10 years. And what has happened in that part of that discussion was that actually it's grown within, instead of that 10-year span, it grew within a 12-month period, how quickly machines were able to learn and adapt and move forward. And so there was a large disparity in terms of what scientists thought, or, global leaders thought would be an estimated of job displacement over the next 3 to 5 years. Some people said, well, it was around 47%. Others said, no, that's too high. It should be around 9% of job displacements over the next 3 to 5 years. So, I'm just here to reach out to you, provide to you some anecdotal, of course, recruiting funnies, because I think recruitment does have that. But on a more serious level, I want to make sure that I'm providing you with some really great content on how to rebrand, how to recreate yourself. Don't wait till the last minute to find out that you're no longer have a job to go to the next morning. Things are going to be moving quickly, folks. It's not, the future is not 10 years from now, it's today. And you want to be prepared for the next 5 years. And I know that it sounds very cliche. Where do you like to see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? And nobody wants to say out of a job. So, something to think about. Certainly my content will revolve around that, how people have evolved in their careers, how they've deviated from a traditional career and gotten into something that was not just fulfilling, but something that was also challenging for them. And and have built their own business that they can maintain and sustain themselves through, you know, a longer life cycle that we're having, that we see today, that a lot of people that I spoke to didn't plan for. So, you know, lots of things to talk about. I look forward to continuing the dialogue, and please feel free to leave me any comments or, you know, your thoughts or any questions that you may have. Again, this is just part one in a very large series that I'm undertaking to help you, to help your career in the future. And of course, I love a good anecdotal story about recruiters and interviewing and all those things that I'll be happy to share with you as well. Hopefully you're having a great day, and I look forward to seeing you again.